everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here today at Re-Written Vintage Homestead. I hope you're all doing great. I had a very busy week last week. My son got married on Saturday, and it was beautiful. His bride is just stunning, and we had a wonderful time. So I wasn't able to get my homestead cart where I sell vegetables and things out over the weekend, and so I'm gonna have to put it out this weekend. And one of my biggest sellers, it is my biggest seller right now, are my jams. And so at my daughter's house, they have mulberries that grow on the other side of their fence. And so I went and picked 3 cups of those, and we're going to make some mulberry jelly, which I had on my cart 2 weeks ago and I sold out. So let's make some more. So if you're wondering what a mulberry looks like, I'm going to put it on this white plate here for you. It's a little black reddish berry that has all kinds of, it's made up of all kinds of little circles here with a little green stem. They're really small. So it takes quite a few to get 3 cups, but that's what we need for this recipe. Now, when they're red or light pink, those aren't quite ripe. You want to wait until they're a dark color like this. And yes, they're going to stain your hands. So you can wear gloves if you'd like, but really within a day, they'll be washed off your hands. They have a very sweet taste. They're delicious, kind of like blackberries. So the first thing you have to do, and yes, it is a little time consuming, is you have to get rid of the little stem here on top. Some people use fingernail clippers and they just clip, clip, clip. I just use scissors and I snip them off. So that's going to be the first step. And we're going to snip off all the tops. It'll take me about 10 minutes here. Then we're going to wash and rinse these in cool water, and then we'll get started cooking them down. Now I've got all of the stems off, and you guys, it's not a big to-do if you don't get all the stems off, but it just looks prettier in your jar if you don't have little stems everywhere. Plus, they would be a little crunchy, so just do your best. I have rinsed all of these off, and that's the most time-consuming part of this whole thing, is getting the stems off. And like I said, just take your scissors, clip them off. I have 3 cups here, and I'm just going to put them in my saucepan here. I'm going to put them on medium heat on the stove, and we're going to start crushing these babies and trying to get some juice. So I've got my mulberries here on medium heat. You can see them boiling a little bit. And I'm just taking my smasher and I'm going to continually mash them down every few minutes. And you see that juice coming out. And the more we cook them, the softer they're going to get until that's all we have is a lumpy juice. Now, you guys don't do like I Love Lucy and put it on the floor and stomp on it. Use the heat and your masher to get that juice out. And it doesn't take long, just a few minutes. So this is what I have after about 6 minutes. You can see I no longer have the berries in their natural state. Now they're just kind of like a mush with some juice. I'm going to let this boil for 5 minutes, and then we will add the other ingredients needed to make our jam. Isn't this a pretty color? It makes such a pretty color jam. Okay, that's the end of our 5 minutes here that we've let that boil. So now I'm going to add 2.5 cups of sugar. And 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I use the real lemon juice. If you have a lemon at home you want to squeeze, you'll need a half a lemon to get that much. And I'm going to get my spoon and we're going to stir this up. So not long after you add your sugar and your lemon juice, you're going to get a beautiful jam, beautiful color. And jams do have chunks of fruit, and they also have the seeds to some of the fruits, such as strawberries. If you want to make a jelly, you're going to need a whole lot more berries because you're going to strain those seeds and the fruit out so that you only have a clear juice. That's why I like this recipe, because you get quite a bit out of it with just 3 cups of fruit. So now I'm going to put this on a low boil, and I'm going to let it boil for 25 minutes. Now I still have 8 minutes to go here in boiling, but I wanted you to see I'm starting to get some foam here. Is that a problem? No, but you don't want a bunch of foam in your jars. It just doesn't look very appetizing, and it takes up space, and actually it's got a lot of air bubbles in it that might interfere with your jar's sealing. So I am going to take, now I could either take a spoon and start skimming that off, or I could add a teaspoon of butter, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to do that with one hand, if possible. Yep, it's melting. There we go. And that's going to help reduce that foam. Just a little teaspoon of butter. Did you see it go away, you guys? So I still have a little bit, but nothing like I did before, and it's going to make it so much easier for me when I put them in my jars. So I've got 7 more minutes, and we're going to let that cook up still. What we're trying to do is dissolve all of that sugar and make sure that everything is incorporated well. I have about 2 minutes left here, and I wanted you to see that the foam is just pretty well gone at this point. That's what the butter really helps with. And some people will tell you to get out your thermometer and make sure that it gets to about 220 degrees. I don't know if we're going to be able to see this real well, but I am about at 225. But I have found if you just cook it 25 minutes, you're going to get to that temperature. So now we're going to take this off, and we're going to start putting it into our jars. I've got my jars over here. I always sterilize my jars. Now you're going to have some people say, oh, all you have to do is just make sure they're clean. Nope. I always make sure I don't have any chips or cracks, and I sterilize them. And I do still sterilize my lids and my rims. Although the ball company now says you don't need to do that. You can just pop them on. But, you know, I was taught to be clean, clean, clean. Fight those germs and to sterilize. So that's what I'm going to do. Doesn't this look beautiful? Jars are sterilized, and they're very hot. And I'm going to take my jam and pour it in the jars. And I want to leave about 1/4 of an inch headspace, so that we're leaving room for it to expand if necessary. There we go. Let's see where we're at here. A bit more. There, I think that's good. I always keep a linen rag that's wet, so I can wipe that off around the edges. I'm going to take my rubber spatula here and go all the way around the outside to get rid of any air bubbles that might be in my jam. I want a real pretty jam that doesn't have a bunch of air bubbles in it. So I'm just going to take that around the outside several times. Now, if you do have foam on the top of your jam, this is the time to take it off with the spatula and wipe it off and get rid of that. Or when you open your jars, you're going to see a layer of foam on the top there, and that's not always the most attractive. So I'm going to take my wet rag here. I'm going to go all the way around and make sure there's nothing on that rim that could prevent my seal from sealing. And then I usually take my hand and just kind of go over it too to make sure. And boy, that looks good, good, good. Let me find my magnet out of my jar. I'm going to get a lid. Just going to set that on there. And a screw top. You don't want to force these. These are just to hold the lids in place. They're not to seal it necessarily. So just turn it until it's holding down that lid. Don't go, because you know what'll happen. This will bubble up and pop on you. So here we go. Isn't that pretty? And I'm going to put that, I've got my water boiling in my canner. I'm going to put it in my canner and I'm going to let that hot water bath for 15 minutes. Then I'm going to turn the water off and let it sit another 5 minutes and then we'll take it out. You want to make sure that you have an inch or 2 inches, between an inch and 2 inches of water over the tops of your lids there, because we're trying to make sure that those seal. So make sure you have plenty of water. Also too, you don't want to start your processing time until it starts boiling. Yep, there we go. I had a little bubble there. So I can start my time, that counts. But if it's just steaming and you're not seeing any bubbles, don't start your time yet. Now, do you have to hot water bath your jam? No, you do not. You can put it right from cooking to the refrigerator, and it'll keep in there for about a month, month and a half before you want to get rid of it. If you water bath it, though, it's good for a year. So that's why I do mine that way. But I want to show you, this hasn't been refrigerated or water bath. And look how thick it is already. That's a nice jam. Now you can use this recipe with strawberries, blackberries, any of your berries. There are recipes out there that use pectin. It's unnecessary though when you're making a jam like this, because you have to end up buying the pectin and you still add as much sugar. So really, what's the point? This is the way the gals used to do it back in the day. So that's the way I do it now. And you guys, I realize I look like a hot mess today, and that's because I am a hot mess in here with my canner. So I'm sorry about that, but I hope you learned how to do this. I am so ready for an afternoon snack. And I'm going to have my mulberry jam here on toast. Look how thick. Look how thick. Nice and thick that is. This has been in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. And it's just beautiful. It spreads nicely. And let's give it a taste. I wish you guys were here to join me. Delicious. And how easy was that, you guys? Now, just because I showed you how to make it doesn't mean that you can quit coming to my stand. Keep coming to my stand and trying new stuff. This is great with peanut butter and jelly, toast, biscuits, muffins, waffles, anything. It's super easy, really. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, make sure that you leave a comment below. I don't think you'll have any trouble. The biggest problem you might have is finding the mulberries. They are hard to find. Now, when I grew up, we had a whole bunch of them on one street. And they made a mess because the birds would eat them and it would just be a mess. These are on the other side of my daughter's fence that face the highway. So I just get on a ladder and go pick them, and they're just, I'm so grateful that I have access to them because they are delicious. Before I take another bite, you guys, like, subscribe, and share. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great week.